And then they started just gelling. Can we restart that? Sorry, I fucked
No,
it.
you have to live with it. Hi, I'm Dan. This is the Slalt Cast. Welcome. I'm joined today by Coby, who is not getting away with it this time.
But I swore in the first 30 seconds, Dan. YouTube is going to...
See, we don't hit the monetization thresholds for YouTube anyway.
Oh, you've gotten me.
I've gotten you.
You have me.
I'm
Coby.
For those of you who don't know, this is the Slalt Cast, where every other week we stream this live, twitch.tv/SlaltCast, or you can listen to it on podcast services around the world, or catch it later on youtube.com/lowercase Q, capital Z, ? 47. We don't have a vanity URL, so if you could please go over to our YouTube channel and subscribe so we can get that, that'd be amazing. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wait a minute. Wait just 1 minute. I only hear two beautiful voices today. And the moderately less attractive ones are missing.
I was going to say that the moderately less attractive one is Dan. Because you said two beautiful voices, and I feel like that's a lie. I feel like we know who the beautiful voice is here.
Yeah, it's me.
And it's God.
There's three. There's always the beautiful voice in our hearts, and the two beautiful voices on the pod. No, Joseph's his house is still being painted. At least that's his excuse. He reckons he doesn't have access to a laptop that he can plug his webcam and mic into. I think that's a fucking lie, and he doesn't want to do it. And Caden said he'll be here and then didn't come. So Coby. It's a good old fashioned Dan and Coby episode today.
Yeah. Well, I seem to be on all the 2-man casts.
Oh, I've missed one of the 2-man casts.
Yeah, well, that would have made it a 3-man cast.
It would have. It wouldn't have been. You've found the.
Yeah. And I feel like just business meeting up front, because we have all of our business meetings live. I feel like the other boys aren't pulling their weight, even though Joseph does have another podcast, Footy Talk, which is moderately more successful than this one.
Very important factor. Joseph has an entire other podcast that he completely runs on his own,
and Caden has a moderately successful band
that he once again runs. So Coby, that's why I'm willing to cut them slack. Cutting Joseph's slack before he started Footy Talk 6 weeks ago, didn't have a reason for it. Mostly because I was worried that he'd say horrible things while we were live, so I was okay with not forcing him on, putting him in a bad mood and starting one of his tirades. Joseph isn't actually a racist. He's not actually a racist. It's just a joke.
No, he is. No, he definitely is. No,
you're going to get us cancelled. Footy Talk's so good, Coby.
But yeah, so I still feel as though their commitments should be to the tentpole show. Yeah, exactly. To the empire. And it isn't until
to the Republic. To the Republic.
No, the Empire.
Okay, well, but you're tearing me apart. Is that a line from that movie?
The third one?
Yeah, it's Anakin. You're breaking my heart.
I feel like you're thinking about the. I think you're thinking about the sex. Yeah.
Can you turn your gain down a little bit again? Now you're peaking. Now you got excited and you talked louder.
Look at this guy. Look at this fucking guy.
Look, I'm just protecting the ears of the audio listeners who didn't.
Telling me to get it up and then saying, no, you don't have to. Typical Dan the tease.
Look, I know. Sorry that I prompted such a reaction from you only to whisk it away.
Look at all the waffling we're doing before we get to the...
Well, I went to pull up our topics and then I read the things that I wrote. One of them is a picture of the Yumbo.
Again, the Yumbo's back.
For those, hang on, I'll just Coby Vamp talk about, sing the praises of the Yumbo.
The Yumbo is most likely the best thing to ever hit fast food restaurants.
This isn't going to work at all.
What do you mean it's not going to work at all?
Fixed it. The Yumbo is the greatest creation of Hungry Jack's that we talked about like a month ago.
Yeah, the Yumbo looks so bad. Yeah, it is. It's a baddie. It's a baddie.
The Yumbo's thick and for only $3. And Coby, do you want to just remind the audio listeners who didn't listen to a couple weeks ago's episode what the fuck a Yumbo is?
Untoasted or lightly toasted bottom bun. Slice of cheese. 2 to 3 bits of sliced ham. non-toasted or slightly toasted top bun. Yumbo.
Okay, so I feel like there's an issue with something that you said in that. I always, in the brief time that I've known the Yumbo, I always assumed at least light toasting of the top and bottom buns, due to the fact that the main meat. I didn't want to use the word meat, but it is because it is in fact meat. But the main meat of the Yumbo is deli ham, very likely extremely moist. And I feel like if you have untoasted bun Yumbo, you run the risk of a soggy Yumbo, and no one wants a soggy Yumbo.
No one wants a soggy Yumbo.
Coby, can you imagine anything worse than a soggy Yumbo?
So this is why here at Slalt Cast Limited,
PTY, Inc. Trademark.
Copyright.
And you're not allowed to check if we actually have the trademarks, okay? We said it, so you're not allowed to check.
No, you can't. I have created, and as the innovator of Slalt Food, our new channel that we've just made tonight.
If anything, Joseph's the innovator.
I present to you, Dan. I want you to just Photoshop the to edit in the Yumbo.
Hang on. Hand. Just if you can vamp.
We have the technology.
No, just okay. In about 2 minutes, I want you to do. No, put your hand down. Put your hand down.
Oh, sorry.
And in 2 minutes, I want you to. I
want to create it like it's a ninja or Naruto.
Yep.
I'm forcing my energy.
I get you.
Right now, the people in the live chat on twitch.tv/Slaltcast are watching me create the Yumbo out of pure energy. And the big difference...
Just do your Kamehameha. Do your Kamehameha. We watched different versions of Dragon Ball. Just keep doing it.
Fuck!
Stop moving your hand so much.
I can't take it. Oh, no. I'm going to start crying.
Wait.
Fuck.
There it is.
The Yumbo. This time...
It's back.
Dry ham.
Our engineers spent 15 minutes in the lab before the creation of each Yumbo, lightly paper toweling each slice of a ham so that it is dry for your consumption.
Oh, man.
I can't think of anything. Okay, so you know how like overly wet honey ham is kind of upsetting? It like ruins the... I think that dry ham might be worse than overly wet ham. It'd feel like biting into a fine leather wallet if I had to make an assumption.
It depends on what context. If it's a dry sandwich to begin with, dry ham.
Well, you definitely don't. Yeah, you definitely.
But I feel as though if it's like the main ingredient, you do want some moisture there. So, yeah. But if it's not, you do want it to be kind of dry.
I think even if you do have some sort of mayonnaise or butter in your sandwich, a dry ham still wouldn't be great because you'd get the moistness of the mayo. The moistness of the mayo. I know people love that word, so I just wanted to really emphasize it.
I agree.
The moistness of the mayo in contrast to the dry, parched isn't the word I'm looking for, but the parchedness of the ham. It's just not a good texture combo. I feel like ham would look like the opposite of when you've been in a pool for a really long time, your fingers get all wrinkly. Like that's what dry ham would be like. Imagine the exact opposite of that feeling.
Probably. Speaking of
how's he gonna say speaking of Yumbo?
Speaking of things that I want in my mouth,
Amouranth.
There are a couple streamers that got recently banned on Twitch.
Terrible.
That's awful. That was awful. But no, seriously, my number is scattered on the Slalt. Call me.
You could, if you cross-referenced episodes 1 through 16 of the Slalt, you could piece together Coby's phone number. Yeah. Yep. So it's definitely worth investigating.
Yep. Anyway, was it last week or a month ago we talked about the Twitch meta of hot tubs, beaches.
It was the hot tub stream, so it was 2 episodes ago, so a month ago.
All right. Yeah. So a month ago we talked about that, and I forget really what the contents of the
well, that was the introduction of that category. Remember, before that it was Amouranth and Indiefoxx.
I think we just had the discussion of whether this should be allowed on Twitch. Discussing that. And
I think the discussion was mostly on the validity of creating a separate category and whether we think that like if that was the right move or if they just like they shouldn't allow it on the platform at all.
Yeah. And then Twitch created the new category. It was popping off for a little bit, and people realized that if you, take away the main factor, the main pillar that it sits on, and you put it on a lesser one, people are not going to look at it as much. And it started to fall apart. I think
Paul's Hot Tubs and Beaches wasn't pulling nearly as many viewers as Just Chatting was.
Yeah, and as a result, I wasn't pulling enough traffic. So a lot of these streamers, not all, but a lot of them ended up pivoting to another lucrative...
Well, I mean, the two, we really have to focus. There's two main culprits, so to say, in
Amouranth and Indiefoxx,
who are in... I kind of only... look, I watched a Ludwig video on it, so I'm basically an expert now, mogul moves and such. I didn't realize it, but they've kind of been in like a lewd Twitch content arms race is how I'm going to phrase it. Where basically one of them will innovate and the other will copy, and then they'll both just do the same shit and try. Just apparently they hate each other and there's beef. So I think the most important thing that we need to lay out is kind of like a ground rules. Before we have this discussion, so that everyone knows what kind of bias we're coming in with, is the Slalt Cast and Amouranth and Indiefoxx type of channel. I think we're Team Amouranth.
I'm going to throw a spanner there. I was an Indiefoxx guy until I saw on a stream, I will fart into the mic for like as a sub goal. And I
didn't know about that. Now I'm going to change my answer. I'm
elaborate. Anyway, the category wasn't doing as well, and the numbers was still out fucking rageous. Don't get me wrong, but they weren't as large as when it was in Just Chatting. So they moved on to another category of ASMR.
I know. I'm going to break tradition. I know we don't normally directly address Twitch chat in the recorded podcast episodes, but May Jailer, friend of the show, absolute great streamer. Go check her out on Twitch, twitch.tv/May Jailer. That's MAEJAILER. She said in our live Twitch chat, which you can catch every other Wednesday, twitch.tv/SlaltCast. God, I'm doing so much promotion.
Always be plugging.
Majella says, we are Indiefoxx stands in this chat, and as I don't really have a horse in the race, that's our official stance now. We're at Slalt Cast is an Indiefoxx channel.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. So Indiefoxx has to give us revenue, I'm pretty sure now. We've pledged allegiance.
So Amouranth has done ASMR in the past. Well, she does do ASMR, I should say.
So, a quick aside, how fucking creepy are those ASMR mics? Like, I know they're built. So, if anyone hasn't seen one of these, I'll try pull one up. I'll try Jamie this shit right here. But obviously, ASMR, it's kind of like designed for a headphone experience, and you want to simulate like the stereo effect. Yeah. And as you get into the higher end of ASMR mics, they really try to go and emulate in the recording process how it sounds in from if you're hearing it in an ear. So the higher end ASMR mics, like this 3DIO FS Pro 2 I've pulled up in the video version, it's just a mic. It's like a chamber in the middle, and then two extrusions on the side in the shape of ears, and it's truly horrifying.
Yeah. So what they are used for, aside from ASMR, is headphone testing. So you can put headphones on the ears to see how
it's designed
sounds.
For really proper ear simulation.
Yeah, like audiophile stuff, but it can also be used for
file?
ASMR. Audiophile.
No, that was a reference to
pedophile.
No, that was a reference to a movie. Jack Black played the R.L. Stein. What are those books called? Goosebumps. Yeah, the Goosebumps movie. But that was a movie, wasn't it? There was a scene at the very start where the cops knocked on Jack Black's door, and they were like, well, we hear really loud noises coming from your house. And he's like, I am an audiophile. And the trainee cop pulls out a gun and goes, oh, what a file. And I thought that was one of the funniest jokes ever written in film.
Oh, all I remember is the puppet. So they pivoted to ASMR, which has a much larger reach. And with their audience, they could dominate the top of that chart. And what they were doing is gaming the system again by using Twitch's fairly loose dress. I shouldn't say dress code. It's not dress code.
The
guidelines.
Contextual dress code, where the rule was you can't be in like swimwear unless you're in a context where swimwear is appropriate.
Yeah.
Like, so like a dude can't have his shirt off unless it's in a context where shirt off is appropriate, or like like a woman can't be in a bikini unless they're in a context where that's appropriate.
So they were basically lying in their bed with yoga pants on, or like, very tight pants on, with the camera angled in a way where their butt was the main focus of the screen. And I remember talking about when we spoke about the hot tubs thing, and it not being necessarily like, provocative in nature. Like, it's up to the beholder, I guess. But this one was very, very, very obvious.
I mean, it was straight up they were lying facing away from camera with the camera there. I only know this from secondhand reports. I didn't see any of this myself, obviously. No, they were just lying there, ass in the center of the shot, taking up majority of the field of view.
They had a sub goal for, eye contact and what have you and stuff like that. Very, very purposefully provocative stuff.
Well, because I think something I've identified, and this kind of goes, look, Coby, I'm going to take you on a walk here. So back in the early days of YouTube, when you couldn't set custom thumbnails, creators would make their content in such a way that the auto-generated thumbnail would be something that's like that they could design and would be clickbait. And like a prime example of this is Phil DeFranco
used to have the lovely Lady of the Day segment.
Yeah, the Lady of the Day, or like the Megan Fox watch. So, and they position it as like strategic. They figured out when in the video YouTube pulled the auto thumbnails from, and would position those segments so that they could have like an attractive woman in the thumbnail, even though they couldn't.
And I know Phil DeFranco kept doing that because then he could still put, when you could make thumbnails, he could still have a reason to put them in the thumbnail. And it wouldn't be a lie.
And so Twitch, obviously, you can't set a thumbnail for your stream. It just pulls one of the most recent frames from the stream, and that's what it displays on the browse grid. So by Amouranth and Indiefoxx putting their entire arse in the camera, that like will obviously then be the auto-generated thumbnail, and someone's going to click on that. Yeah.
Sorry, I've got a message.
That's okay. It's not like we're doing a podcast or anything.
Sorry.
Fucking unprofessional. You wonder why I don't hold Joseph and Caden to the same standards I hold you. You fucking bitch. Oh, he's gone. He's gone. He's come. Oh, he has a crybaby pedal.
I'm gonna wah like a crybaby.
I get it.
Thank you. Visual comedy, everybody. I'll be here all week. So, they were abusing that, and, it got to the point where I was getting a little bit, like I said before, Indiefoxx had a sub-goal where she would hold the mic up to a butt and try and fart. And it culminated in Twitch banning them. And I think it's really interesting.
Well, it's not the first time they've been banned.
No, definitely not.
I think this was just the highest profile banning, because they're really in the zeitgeist at the moment. I think like their arms race is really reaching ahead. It's getting to the point where it's being talked about enough, and the higher profile enough people are talking about it, where I think some sort of major change, like, how leading up to the adpocalypse on YouTube, there was kind of like that feeling that something was going to change.
I guess, yeah.
Like there was just enough events that happened where when the change happened, like it's like, I feel like we're approaching that with Twitch. I feel like there's about to be a major paradigm shift, because Twitch gave them the rope. Like they made the pause and hot tubs thing. Like they gave them rope, and then Amouranth and Indiefoxx like hanged themselves. Like to use the metaphor. But realistically, like Twitch were like, okay, like we see what you're doing. You've skirted the TOS. We're gonna make your own place. Do that here. And like this is like the accommodations we're making you, because for Twitch it's a mutually beneficial thing. Amouranth and Indiefoxx are pulling in millions of dollars a year, and Twitch is taking like 25% of that. So it works for both parties. It's the problem on Twitch is that like they do have their TOS. It is their platform, and they're being held accountable for the type of content they're allowing on their platform. And yeah, so like Twitch gave them the rope and they hanged themselves and they banned them. They did their 3-day ban. And then obviously they've come back, I think like yesterday, I think was when the bans ended.
Okay.
And I just wanted to know, like for the context of the podcast, I wanted to see what they were streaming. And I saw Amouranth was in ASMR and she was doing a more traditional ASMR setup where she was just sitting at a computer in front of the fucking like creepy mic.
Yeah.
I didn't see what Indiefoxx streams. But so
I know Indiefoxx was, she used to do music stuff, so she was back playing the guitar and singing today. I saw.
Yeah, so for now they're back to like their content's still like extremely risque, but less risque compared to where they were. But it's like a matter of time until they dip their toes back into like the lewd Twitch content, pushing the line water. And I mean, like they're just gonna keep towing the line until Twitch really pushes back in a meaningful way. Because, like, yes, a 3-day ban might mean hundreds of thousands of dollars lost for both of them in terms of sub revenue and donos. But when you're making, I watched this Ludwig video. Amouranth has one of the highest paying OnlyFans in the world. She also, this might have been a Miskiv video. It was one of the, I've started watching the fucking Those People. I'm a degenerate. I know I hate myself.
Those people.
The streamer bros. Like Amouranth has had one of the highest paying OnlyFans in the world. She has a massive Patreon. She has like a private videos thing. Not to mention the number of subs that she pulls on Twitch. What her like the number of donos that she pulls, and then obviously what a Twitch split must be.
And
ad revenue on YouTube, like ASMR. Like Amouranth has a whole highly successful ASMR YouTube channel. Like I think Miskiv guessed that she must be earning about $50 million a year, and that sounds extremely high, but I trust his estimate because he kind of broke it down a bit. And like even if it's half of that, if she's making $25 million a year, like 3 days of not streaming on Twitch is fine, because if you looked, Amouranth, the day they got tweeted, Amouranth, the day they got banned, sorry, Amouranth tweeted, banned on Twitch, lol, and then a link to our OnlyFans. They were like, it's not a hard enough slap on the wrist. Like nothing's going to change. Watching a week, they'll be fighting on a mic in another category. Like, they're really kind of forcing Twitch's hand here. And there's going to be some major paradigm shift, some major change on the platform. And I can't imagine what it's going to take, like what that change will look like, what format it will take. And I'm worried at how much it's going to hurt just chatting, like, and IRL content on Twitch.
I'm not too sure. Like, the landscape of Twitch is ultimately a much more, it allows for much more diverse content, I feel. I think, as opposed, we had this discussion on Monday where, as a live platform, it's much more difficult to police content in the same sense that YouTube can police content. And especially, I think there's this kind of problem plaguing, YouTube and Twitch as a whole, where it's like there is no competitor in any meaningful sense. Like, every time there's a competitor to YouTube, it'll fail simply because having a platform as large with the same amount of like history and culture
become so ingrained in the ethos of the internet, like that it's really going to take something major for someone to topple.
It's kind of like using Bing as opposed to Google. When you have a question, you'll say Google it instead of search it on the internet, or use Bing, or use DuckDuckGo. It's it's this monopolization of content, and there is that ultimate problem of drawing this line that can always be moved no matter what, and there is no substitute for it, right? Whether or not you think that content like this should be allowed on any which platform doesn't necessarily stop it from existing in a less extreme form or a more extreme form, because there is never going to be the perfect ecosystem where you've got one place to go for gaming content, one place to go for IRL content, one place to go for risque content, which are all equally as safe,
I think
and
like
equally respected and have the equal
reason that this is happening
in the
on
social
Twitch,
hierarchy of the internet.
Yeah, the reason this is happening on Twitch is because of like the reputation that Twitch has. That's where live streaming happens. Like, if there is live streaming on the internet, the first place that I'm sure everyone thinks of is Twitch.
Yeah.
Like, no one thinks, live stream, Facebook Live. Like, no, you ask anyone, like, if you were to start streaming, what platform are you going to stream on? The first thing that will come to their brain is Twitch.
Yeah. And I think another thing is, like, especially for risque content, there is still that major taboo. OnlyFans has really only become a big thing. Well,
it's a lot more of a pill for someone to swallow to start streaming on a camgirl site than or to start watching a stream on a camgirl site.
Because that's the reputation it has.
Exactly.
It is a camgirl site.
You can watch Amouranth and Indiefoxx effectively make softcore on Twitch.
Because at that point, you're then competing with actual porn stars. Whereas on Twitch, you're competing with,
with
fully
us,
clothed,
with bearded,
regular
sweaty nerd gamer guys.
Exactly. Talking about sexual content on a gaming platform. It's a bit rude to call it a gaming platform now, but you get the point.
Because it's really not. Just chatting is always the biggest. Like, that we've had that conversation before. I'll let you continue your point.
It is at a stage where there needs to be at least some kind of allowance and diversity in terms of content creation online, because as YouTube and Twitch are going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and and unfortunately the companies behind them do want them to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
I think the reason this is even still a question is because it's Amazon owns it and they're most interested in their bottom line. And not to say that if another company didn't own it, they wouldn't be as interested in the financials, but it's a big company, and the reason that it just hasn't been outright banned yet is because of the amount of revenue that it drives.
Yeah, but I think a big part of it is to allow for other, for the internet to be a little bit more open in terms of accessibility for everybody. Like, you go to a camgirl site and it's like a camgirl site. Like, it looks filthy.
Like, is your point that Twitch wants to allow that kind of content to a lesser degree?
I feel as though, like, if Twitch was going to allow the content, they'd have like a separate site. That's what I would think.
My point with the whole paradigm shift and the change that I'm worried about is happening is that there's
demonetization and how monetization works on Twitch.
I think there's people making legitimate lifestyle content in the pools, hot tubs, and beaches stuff.
Yeah.
And if Amouranth and Indiefoxx keep going the way that they're going, I'm not 100% blaming them, because there's other people doing this too. And I'm not saying that this is what is 100% going to happen. But if they keep going the way that they're going, and Twitch is forced to do something and forced to really move the line, it's going to affect the people who aren't pushing the line, because they're going to have to make such a drastic change and say, okay, well, we're not going to allow that kind of content in any way at all. And that moves the line all the way back. And the person who's just making their lifestyle vlog, like IRL lifestyle vlog on their beach holiday in Hawaii, now can't do that on Twitch, because Twitch's hand was forced by the community and by these streamers abusing it to make a major change to their TOS, rather than people just playing within the rules. Yeah.
And also, it kind of be also unfair, because those changes kind of do mainly affect women, especially
especially in this scenario. Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, this scenario is very, it is a very weird thing of I think I brought it up in our hot tub stream.
Wow, what a great stream that was. I'm so proud of myself for that.
Yeah. it is a big thing that it is a community of women, mostly, right, being affected by these changes and abusing the kind of audience that Twitch has, which is I assume mostly straight male.
I'm sure that would be their largest demographic, but I'm sure that's changing.
Yeah, of course, it's as time goes on, it'll forever be changing, but that still doesn't necessarily change the fact that it is it's very difficult from a moral perspective, especially like to affect the bottom line, in that short term for Amazon to make a change like this and face the social backlash of like disproportionately affecting the bottom line of women.
Yeah, like
and
there's I think in its current, I mean, like this is obviously like a dangerous, a minefield of an avenue to talk about. Because there's nothing like obviously we all believe like sex work is real work. Like women have a right if to like use their bodies and stuff. And they're like all of those things are still valid, and it just becomes a question of is Twitch the place to do that, and to what extent. And like that's a very dangerous area. And you're right, that issue does affect like female streamers and stuff more. I feel like I'm definitely not the most educated person to address that, but that is like a factor in all of this.
Yeah. But anyway, just to cap it off, if this content is like a Yumbo, it's there,
too moist,
people ate it, and now it's gone. Not really. I think the Yumbo still lives in spirit.
Oh, and so does this content. I don't think it's going away.
Yeah.
Okay, mark my words. By what month is it? It's the end of June. By September.
By the time Dreamland comes out.
By September, there will be a major paradigm shift in Twitch as a result of this.
And you know what that time is, Dan? The time the Dreamland comes out. You kind of fucked my segue there. But
yeah, but I want it to be right. Someone's going to clip. No one's going to clip this, I know. But someone's going to clip this. And when the big paradigm shift happens, they're going to be like, Dan from the Slalt Cast called it. And they're going to tweet that and they're going to get one reply. And they're going to say, who?
Yeah. And I'll be the one to tweet it.
Yeah. And I'll be the one to say who?
So, the next topic, because you ruined my segue.
Yeah.
Is it
a segue like Paul Blart from Paul Blart's Mall Cop?
No, that's a segue.
No, I don't think it has a H in it.
That's a seg Pokemon go to the polls.
Yep.
So me, Coby, and as me, I mean my band Southbound, we're in the recording studio the past couple days recording our first single.
And how was that experience?
How was that experience indeed?
Well, I mean, do you want to start? Last week there was the kind of the precursor to that. To this narrative. Well, think about where we left off in last week's podcast.
All right.
So your sister may have potentially, like your sister was getting a COVID test. So
there was breaking news on last week's podcast. If you listened to it, halfway through the episode, I was informed that my sister was in the hot zone, for a COVID thing for the COVID case here in New South Wales, and that I'd have to be quarantining until she got her tests. And they came back negative, and they did. So I after that stream, I emailed the Dan from Deaf Wolf Studios at Cornell, absolute mad lad. He said, "Don't worry, we'll still go ahead with it. Just let me know any updates, and we'll push it." Because he had work to do anyway, so it wouldn't have negatively affected him if we could or couldn't. So anyway, my sister's results came back negative. It was all good. I had 2 extra days off work, which I wasn't too psyched about, but you play with the cards you're dealt. Anyway, Monday rolled around and we went into the studio. 9:30. Monday was only Jeremy, Bomer, and myself.
I tried to pull up the video of you breaking your ankle or whatever on stage, and Jeremy's taking it down.
And it's gone.
It's gone.
It's gone.
It's gone.
That fucker. I'm gonna.
Anyway, continue your story.
Yeah. So Jeremy is our drummer and Bomer's our bass player, and we were there on Monday. We got there at 9:30 a.m. And to put it in perspective, how big the day on the tools was, we left at 7:45 p.m., which was a large day. So a great portion of the day was just tracking drums or whatever. No, nothing much really interesting happened. So Tuesday came about. We Jeremy couldn't make it, so it was Dylan, Bomer, and myself. And we tracked a lot of stuff. Now, some interesting things happened.
I'd hope something interesting happened if you were bringing this up on the podcast.
Yeah, so we played an organ from the 1960s.
Holy shit! That's cool.
A lot of studios have these. It's not like necessarily a rare thing. They've got a old Hammond organ from the 60s and 70s. But that was
it a liver?
Pardon?
Was it a liver? Or was it like kidneys? A heart, perhaps? What kind of organ?
Dan, it's a musical organ, not an organ from the body.
Fuck! Oh, I always make that mistake.
You absolute fool! You absolute fool! One on the board for Dan. That's a shame. That's a massive fuck up for your career.
I'm never going to recover from that. I'm never going to recover from that. Fuck.
No, you're not.
I'm never going to make it in this industry now. God, I love the energy on the two-person podcast. It's always so frightening going into them because it's like we're gonna have nothing to talk about.
Yeah, I know. I know, right? I don't know how bleep this. The Young Crumbs do it.
I haven't listened to one of their shows in ever since they slandered us. I felt reticent to listen to one of their podcasts.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna say it back. Young Crumbs, why do you hate us? What do we ever do to you?
Yeah. Other than milk your podcast for our content for months.
And they never noticed.
Until they did.
Until they did. So we did that, and kind of the vibe. I wish Caden was here because I could talk to Caden about it. It was,
I'll be Caden. Okay, I have a genuine question, Coby. Now, ideally, a genuine question. Ideally, come with us. Yeah, we're on our way.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, Caden, and
ideally.
An interesting dynamic in the studio is like how the pressure kind of changes as opposed to a live setting. So, for example, you're sitting in a chair and you're in the spotlight solo. The microscope is on you. As an example.
No, I think I think they had. I don't think the music studio had microscopes. They're probably microphones.
No. I'm using a metaphor.
I think they were microphones, Coby.
I'm using a metaphor.
What's that? I'm like Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy. I can catch it before it goes over my head.
Dan, that's another one on the board.
I'm invisible. I'm invisible.
No, I can see you. I can. You're very, very visible.
Crunch. Yep.
That's a very bad visual gag.
Watch the video version.
You know what? I'm going to count that as another one. That's 3 on the board, Dan. You're not doing well. You're not doing well for yourself today.
Fuck. That's 3 strikes. Yeah. If this was baseball, I'd be fucking gone.
Yeah, but the good thing it's not baseball.
If it was I would have done so many steroids with Jose Canseco.
Anyway.
And Mark Maguire. I'm not going to leave the other Bash brother out here. That's the only thing I know about baseball. Thanks to that Lonely Island special, the Bash Brothers. That's 100% of my baseball knowledge right there. That Jose Canseco and Mark Maguire did hella steroids. And that the team's the Oakland A's.
AIDS?
Yeah.
Damn.
No,
crazy.
It's just the letter.
Oh,
the letter aid.
So, yeah, but there's this weird experience and phenomenon in the studio, like realizing your creative vision come to life, which I think is uniquely a music thing. And it's when you've finally like got all the pieces in place and like you play it and it starts and you go, holy shit, we made that. It's like a child, except you don't have a child. You have
I imagine you get in your own head when you've like played the fucking rhythm guitar like 27 times and you're like, fuck it, let's just put it all together, and then you hear it all together and it's like, oh, that was actually not terrible.
Yeah. It's this weird like out of body experience of like trying not to.
Damn, you went third person.
Why can I set my back at the moment, Dan?
Yo.
What the fuck? I'm clipping into the wall. I'm clipping into the wall.
Yo, I got wall hacks. Do you remember the April Fool's Day gag from like 2013 from Razer that was like a drone? You wore FPV goggles and they made like it's April Fool's, it wasn't real, but you wore like FPV goggles and they had like a drone would follow you. It was literally that. It was like a third person IRL. And I remember, I think Caden shared it to like our group chat. And he was like, this is fucking sick. How expensive do you think it's going to be? I'm like, oh no. He got got. No. Man's got.
That would be pretty fun though, like for a day just
It'd be
to be
great
in third
for
person.
6 seconds until you realize how terrible the delay was. And then you like walk into something or a gust of wind comes and the drone flies away.
Well, that's easy. You just strap the drone onto like a massive backpack, you know?
I feel like you don't need it to be a drone
Do
anymore.
you think Google Street View cars, there is no windshield, like the glass is just there for effect, like you're
No, I
watching
saw
it
the
through
man
the camera?
with that one time where I posed on the side of the road. They still haven't updated the maps yet. I check almost daily. That's some podcast lore for you. I think it was a couple months ago, but I got a tip off that the Google Street View car was approaching my house, so I waited on my front yard so I could be in the photo. And they haven't updated them yet. But no, I did make awkward eye contact with the man as he drove past.
Yeah.
So there is a man.
Was he hot?
To each their own.
Okay.
Like, what if his wife's watching or his husband? I'm not going to assume.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that their partner's unattractive. I'm not saying it's my personal taste. Might be yours.
No, anyway. Recording
Get
was fun.
fucking wrecked, idiot. You tried to make me look like a piece of shit and I owned you. Like that fucking reverse.
Dan, we're not playing at the moment.
Are we not?
I'm sorry.
Are we not,
sorry.
Coby? For audio listeners, I pulled out the, I always keep this thing on me. I've always got it on me. And I think Coby's had to retire from the pod. I think I get 30 to 60% of his bank account now. No, he's come back. Coby, just say I consent.
Dan, I've come back as Coby the White because I'm now wearing a white shirt.
I was wondering what the change was, and I'm glad it was that.
You blew my jumper off. I wasn't wearing socks, so I can't say you blew my socks off.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure, in the order of clothing that gets blown off at Great Startlement, it goes socks, then jumper.
Yeah, because if it was anything else, it would probably be. Well,
I mean, we'd join Amouranth and Indiefoxx.
Oh, they're unbanned. Oh, but so we'd stay unbanned. Oh.
Anyway, so music recording.
Yeah, I forgot where I was up to. It was this weird creative thing about like realizing a vision. And today we were sitting there. This is like the funny story I really want to tell because this is very funny. So Monday morning, I've picked up Jeremy because he can't. Well, he can drive. He just chooses not to sometimes. So I picked him up, and as we were approaching the studio, we were about like 6-7 minutes away, and it was 9:20, 9:25, or like 9:26 or something.
Sorry,
like that.
Can I get a time zone on
that? Eastern Standard Time.
So like New York time?
No. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Sorry. Yeah.
So like and we're not in daylight savings, are we? Just I don't
know.
No,
it's standard time.
So GMT plus 10.
Yeah.
Yep, thank you. That was very important to the story. So 9:26 GMT plus 10.
Yes. Yeah. You could say any GMT plus number, and I could just say yes because I don't know.
Do you not? Okay,
no.
I had like a traumatic experience. It wasn't traumatic in the slightest. It was just frustrating, and now I remember it. In first year computer science, we had in like our intro to programming course, we had an assignment where we had to make like a time zone calculator, and I spent a lot of time on it, and now I remember certain like GMT deviation time zone bases. So
damn, that's crazy. So anyway, Jared, so we were about like we're about like 7 minutes away, and it being like 3 minutes to 9:30, and I say to Jeremy, "Have a look at that. We've made like perfect time. We're going to be there. Geez, not on 9:30, but like in the amount of time where, it's like deemed acceptable for to not be late." And Jeremy starts going on this thing where he's like, no, we're going to be late no matter what. If I have something on, I'm always there 10 minutes early.
A wizard arrives precisely when he means to.
Yeah, right, exactly. And I am a wizard. I was Coby the Black, and now I'm Coby the White. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I don't know. We needed to make it turn into a race thing. I don't. It's not a race thing. It's the color of my shirt. I mean, I don't think I don't see you any differently because you're a different color.
Dan, this joke can go places
I know,
that we don't want it to go.
I know.
And you're the one that took it there.
Well, no, you took it there and I just called you.
No, I was making a very, very, very astute reference.
Do you think that part in Lord of the Rings would fly? Like he changed to white, now he's better? In the book, Saruman changed to rainbow, and that was bad. Like, and he was when he turned bad. I don't think that would fly. You calling rainbow bad?
Was it like meant to be that he was?
No, it wasn't that. It was just I'm Saruman the many-colored when he revealed himself to Gandalf to be evil.
Oh, okay. Well, I know that there's Radagast the Brown.
Yeah,
is that racist?
No, he liked rabbits.
Yeah, he did like rabbits. No, I don't think it's necessarily problematic.
No, I don't think it's problematic.
Yeah. Well, this is a really how hard you hit your wife situation.
What? What?
It was a loaded. It was a loaded question.
What?
That's what a loaded question.
You went
is,
from
Dan.
a light Lord of the Rings joke to
no.
Domestic
You were
abuse.
talking about is Lord of the Rings racist, and then I did. Have you never heard that saying?
No, I haven't.
This has turned into be a how hard you
anyway.
hit your wife, a loaded question.
Stop.
I swear to God, I've heard that somewhere.
Probably from Joseph, which means it's not a good thing.
No.
Anyway, Jeremy's late.
So yeah, Jeremy was saying no. I'm always 10 minutes early. And I say that's insane. There are specific things like the bus or the train that you show up early to, because if you're on time or late,
you're fucked.
You're late.
Yeah.
But events and appointments and stuff like that, there is a window of time.
No, appointments you can go fuck
late.
yourself, but events. So I live my life by my social anxiety, and I'm early to every single fucking thing I do, except for events where I show up late because I don't want to be the first one there.
All right. Here's the thing.
You've scarred our Twitch chat for life. May Jailer, twitch.tv/MAJAILER, said that she literally never heard that line ever and now has to continue living knowing that saying.
I don't think it's how hard you hit your wife. I don't think it's that. It's something
Stop
on the
saying it. We here at the Slalt Cast don't promote domestic abuse.
Don't hit your wife. You're a cunt if you do. This is something that I've heard in relation to a loaded question. Anyway,
this is going to be so hard to make a thumbnail and not make that the thumbnail to own you. I'm not going to do that. That was a comedy.
Where was I?
Jeremy Early, and that's unreasonable.
Jeremy Early. Oh no, you were saying like getting to place events and things on time. I have come to the realization that the world does not ever. So
you said
on
I have
time.
come, and like the memes where someone says I've come, and then it's the cyberpunk music cuts them off, and it's like, I just imagine that. Lawrence, if you see this, make that.
I've come to the conclusion that the world doesn't run on time. It is an abnormality for things to run on time. A doctor's appointment, they're always 10 minutes late, and I still make an effort to get there on time because that means I'm 10 minutes early. But then if they're not running on time, I'm there on if they are running on time, then I'm there on time. If I come 10 minutes early for when my appointment is scheduled, and it's a midday or like afternoon appointment, I'm going to be waiting there for an extra half an hour. Instead, I can get there on time, and as a result, I'm not wasting my own time. I'm not taking up the time of others. And, I've already scheduled in that slot, to be there from 9:30 to whenever, or like 12:30 to whenever. So Jeremy, I think, is wrong here. I think showing up early to events and appointments, maybe 10 minutes is a bit, of a bit too much to say that it's wrong to show up. But like any more than 15 minutes, I think is a bit wrong. Smash cut to today, where I call him as I'm leaving my house, and I'm like, "Hey, Jeremy, I'm leaving now. Do you want me to pick you up still?" And he's like, No, I'll drive. And I thought, okay, make sure you're there by 2 because we need to be there at 2. And I'm driving along. I'm happy. I'm like, with all the recordings done, the mixing is going to be done. This is going to be so fucking great. We're all going to be there. It's going to be so fucking cool. I pick up Dylan on the way. Dylan's our guitarist because he's
Dylan, you son of a bitch. to the predator.
Yeah.
Did you do that with your left hand? Because I know you have your camera mirrored.
Yeah, I did it with my
left. You
left.
fucking psychopath.
Well, you did it with your right.
Yeah, but...
no, you did it with your left.
No, this is my right hand.
Oh. Yeah.
What the fuck? Yeah, but you used your left. You should have just done it with your right hand. It would have looked right. It would have been right. Hold on,
you put yours up?
No, use the other hand. I mean, if we're being 100%, it should be like this.
Yeah,
but then we're both using our left hand. But it should be
you're
like
right.
this.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
You.
I was looking at your camera. I was looking at your camera, and your right for me is your left because your camera is flipped. So I went to use my left because it looked right. You know what I mean?
No, I'm so sorry. Irate.
I could understand. I understand that.
Irate.
This is my fault.
But the fact that your instinct would be left hand for a handshake anyway.
Well, because I saw what I think is your left hand.
Can you put a couple on the board for you?
No. Dan? No. For that? That's another one on the board for Dan. No. No.
It happened again, guys.
What do you think this is?
Shit.
This is the Australian Liberal Party. We're corrupt as fuck.
So I should impregnate my chief of media and then I can come back a couple years later.
Oh, wow.
Barnaby Joyce, topical.
Smash cut to today. As we're pulling up to Cornell, which is an hour away from Jeremy's house. We get a message from Jeremy saying, "I'll be a tad late." This is at 5 to 2, and I thought, this fucking guy, this guy. We're there for about an hour, just listening to the mix and what have you, listening to just signing off on any last touches and whatever. And then, as we're leaving, we see Jeremy's car pull up. So that's really what I wanted to get through, but Dan kind of went on a tirade. So I'm going to give another point on the board for Dan.
Aww.
This is golf rules, by the way. The lower points you have, the better you're doing.
I can't. Considering the points are attributed for negative things, I assumed that much.
Yeah.
I think that's a point for you for mansplaining.
No, that's another point for you. You don't get to dictate who gets points, Dan. You're now on 6.
No.
Right?
I can't have 6 points.
No.
Coby, I can't have.
You're lucky this isn't your second round of baseball because you'd be
I'd
out
be out,
again.
man. If this was the second innings, I'd be gone.
Jesus Christ!
I'd be out the back with Jose and Mark. You'd
be in jail with Friendly Geordie's producer who got arrested. Can we talk about that?
What happened? I didn't know that.
Oh, this is interesting. So, Friendly Geordies is a political comedian, satirist, and journalist here in Australia. He's very outspoken. He lives here in New South Wales and Sydney, and he's very outspoken about the Liberal Party and their just their ongoing shenanigans.
The things that those silly kids get up to,
fucking rascals they do. And recently,
like impregnating their staff or covering up rape.
Yeah,
those are things that they did.
Yeah, now you can say it. Yeah. So fairly recently, he's been in this. He's been joking about the Deputy Premier of New South Wales, John Barilaro, in a not very nice manner. He's really putting on like that, that faux wog accent, like the bruz and kind of thing, and calling him bruz.
Sorry, once again, to go back to Twitch chat, May's just fuck it. We need to have May on a podcast episode. She's got some dynamite drop-ins. She goes, haha, those silly liberals always getting into trouble. Haha, boys will be boys. And when I read that, I threw up a little in my mouth. It's so terrible. Oh god. So our politics are fucked.
Yeah. Well, that's because the media has been covering America's
you keep putting money in Rupert Murdoch's pocket, you bastard.
Yeah. Anyway, so it's culminated in these bits where they've been they went to an event dressed as Luigi, and
I think I saw a TikTok and other characters.
Yeah, and they just went up to him and started saying shit. I don't know the full context here. But then he was like, "Are you going to sue us?" And John Barilaro said, "Yes, I am going to sue you." So we ended up suing them, Friendly Geordies, the establishment, I guess, for defamation, because they've been making like satirical content and accusing him rightfully of corruption and the such.
Yeah, they told the truth and hurt my feelings.
Yeah, John Barilaro has not been very, kind to the truth being told or a truth being told, if it isn't truthful. But, that's why do you cover something up that is false, Anyway, it kind of all culminated in this part where John Barilaro did sue them, and they handed them the papers, and they looked at the papers, and there was a mistake, and they did a bit as well. Like, you can't legally be, you can't be sued without somebody literally handing you the papers. Like, you have to be served. So how they found out they were being served, how they found out they were being sued was through the tabloids. They were never served before the media found out. Anyway, they finally got served. They made a very funny video about it, going to the, and doing stupid shit. Anyway, they found a mistake on the documents about where John Barilaro's residency is, and they claim that it's in, the Parliament House in Canberra, which is just false. So there was Friendly Geordie's producer, I'm forgetting his name.
Rick.
No.
Rick Dalton, Bounty Law.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Quentin Tarantino likes feet.
Friendly camera. Fuck. Hold on.
Did you say Once Upon a Time in Hollywood while you're jamieing?
Yes, I did. Actually.
What were your thoughts? It's hard. It's so hard to liking Quentin Tarantino movies because I hate him, but I think he makes good movies.
Christo Lanka.
Why do people have to be garbage?
Christo Lanka is the producer's name. So he had the papers in hand. I forget the reason, but he saw John Barilaro, after Barilaro was coming from a state funeral, and rightfully, started filming and went up to him with the intention of giving him back the papers to say that, hey, look, there's this mistake. Can you take these back and then serve us back with correct information? Anyway, John Barilaro was on the phone, and like to give some semblance of, devil's advocate here, like, there was that kind of misunderstanding of like, I am very busy. I've just come back from a funeral. I'm on the phone. Can we just get out of here? Because you could just be any random person. As Christo isn't necessarily an on-camera personality for Friendly Geordies. Anyway, that afternoon, the afternoon of that incident happening, where he went up to John Barilaro, his house he got a knock on the door from plainclothes police, who ended up being the counter-terrorist force, and said he's being arrested for harassment against John Barilaro. Plainclothes officers that... Pardon?
It seems quite extreme.
Yeah. Well, you should watch the video. It's like fairly frightening.
I think I think I saw that broken out on TikTok. Yeah. Anyway,
so they as he was being arrested, he was like, "Am I being arrested?" They said yes, and he's like, "Okay, well, Mum, can you please take my phone?" And
and then they fucking they beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, so they like tackle him to the ground. They
they were like, "Oh, like you can't be recording us," and they're like, "Oh, she can." And
and then the mother was pushed over. They severely harmed their family dog and what have you. Anyway, they were just thuggish. Is the adjective you should use here. They were plain clothed. They didn't have any sort of, warrant. It was very unprofessional. And he was arrested for 2 counts of harassment, which one of them is a stretch, and the second one was him walking up to John Barilaro with the papers earlier that day, which raises the question, has any harassment charge been dealt with by the counter-terrorist force, or the same day that harassment supposedly happened. Very frightening to think about because it is rather mafia-ish and thuggish.
I mean, it definitely seems like they've leveraged their power to have a response that's far greater than what was warranted. Because it's like a defamation and harassment case. It's not a violent crime. It's definitely not domestic terrorism. I don't think the counter-terrorism force needed to be involved.
Anyway, he was released out on bail, but the bail conditions seemed to be very authoritarian-like, which they were like, he cannot be a part of any content regarding John Barilaro. He can't legally have any photos or caricatures of John Barilaro in his possession. He can't write any news stories or be a part of any stories about John Barilaro in general. So
he can't fall asleep with his John Barilaro body pillow. All outrageous things.
So it's very scary how the infringement of someone's, a journalist, and their rights to journalism and speech is being infringed here in Australia, and especially in New South Wales by the Liberal government. Those pesky boys, and girls, but mostly boys.
Boys will be boys.
Boys will be boys. Oh, you know them,
so
just
terrible.
mucking around, lying to the public. So it's an interesting story. I should read up on it a little bit more.
I mean, that sounds. I mean, look, we're
nothing but not informed.
We're notably left-leaning here on the Slalt Cast. And we do love good old-fashioned, Australian Liberal National Party bashing from now and then. But you can't, when you hear shit like that, you can't say they don't deserve it. Because they do some fucked shit sometimes. A good portion of the time. We joked about it before, but Barnaby Joyce coming back is definitely a very questionable series of events that's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bit weird. I think the big problem is politics is kind of tainted by money, and it's upsetting that I just want solar panels on my house and not to pay my taxes like Shaggy and Scooby-Doo. They don't pay their taxes.
Don't.
Why do I have to?
Hey, we don't want to be casting aspersions about Shaggy and Scooby. Hey.
I know for a fact they don't pay their taxes. You know what, Dan?
Are you referencing that Cold Ones clip? We've already milked their content this week on our stream.
Dan, I'm so sorry. I
didn't even do anything.
That's number 7. Mate, you're out. So I'm just going to have to ask you, where can everybody find you?
Coby, considering I struck out, I think that you should get the honor of going first. Where can the people find you?
He's right. I do always come first. You can find me on Instagram at _55 Coby55 and at South_bound_band. Got some exciting things coming there.
Very exciting things.
And on Twitter at Coby_55. And you can also find me
at his house, address.
At my house, 20. Yes. So where can they find you, Dan?
You can find me at DanielF737 on Twitter and Instagram. You can also follow the Slalt Cast at Slalt Cast on all of the social platforms. That is Twitter, that is Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We do have a TikTok page, and honestly, I think there's some TikTokable moments from this podcast, so follow for new content. Make sure you also go and chuck a follow over at twitch.tv/SlaltCast, where we stream every Monday and Wednesday, and we do the podcast live every other week on Wednesday. And this was a fantastic live one. The chat was popping off. We had a bunch of fun friends. Twitch.tv/MayJailer, go follow. You definitely don't want to miss it live. And there was also a lot of visual gags in this episode. I'd argue 15% of this episode will be improved by 15% if you watch the video version. So we don't have a vanity URL on YouTube yet, so make sure you go and you search up the Slalt Cast and hit that subscribe button so that we can make it easier for everyone. But on a closing note, Coby is gonna give us his most profound.
No, I have a very, 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 very good tease. Right, ready?
Amaranth.